Just saying.
I know.
Well,
Yeah.
one the other, last week was like.
Okay, are we ready, guys?
That's a lot.
Yep.
Okay, I'd like to call to order the organizational meeting of the Oceana County Board of Commissioners. Would you all stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
To the roll call, Mr. Walker,
Present.
Mr. Beggs.
Here.
Mr. Hardy.
Here.
Mr. Erickson.
Here.
Mr. Morse.
Here.
So according to the statute, MCL 46.3A, the election of the chairperson for the County Board of Commissioners this is the only time that it's allowed to be done by secret ballot. If you choose to do that, I need a motion to do that.
I don't need to be done secret.
Nope. I'm good with it.
Okay. So then I will open up for nominations.
I'll nominate Bob Walker for board chair.
Support.
Any other nominations? Any other nominations? Okay. Let's do a roll call. Mr. Morse?
Yes.
Mr. Erickson?
Yes.
Mr. Beggs?
Yes.
Mr. Hardy?
Yes.
Mr. Walker?
Is it something I can abstain from? Probably not.
Probably not.
Probably not, yes.
I accept.
A lot of choices.
Okay, I will turn the meeting over to Chairman Walker.
Thank you. Thank you to my fellow commissioners. Thank you, Amy. Election of a vice chair. Motion 23-02. Oh, not to close. But at this time, at least time, I'd like to take nominations for the vice chair of the Oceana County Board. That's a one-year term.
I nominate Tim Beggs.
Are there any more nominations for vice chair? Are there any more nominations for vice chair? I ask the clerk to do a roll call vote, please.
Did anybody second that?
Yes. We had a,
I don't think so.
I'll second.
okay, thank you.
Mr. Morse?
Yes.
Mr. Hardy?
Yes.
Mr. Erickson?
Yes.
Mr. Beggs?
Yes.
And Mr. Walker?
Yes. Congratulations and welcome, Tim.
Thank you, fellow commissioners.
Discussion of and adoption of the board rules and procedures. Mr. Morris and Mr. Hardy have worked extensively on these. I will open it up for comments from either or both of the gentlemen on how we came to where we're at.
You want to start?
No, go right ahead.
Okay. Well, yeah, we were talking. Really the board was talking about how it seems like we need to revisit some things, especially when it had to do with public comment. And so, yeah, Craig got the ball rolling. Got a hold of Grand Traverse Commission board rules, and essentially we took ours, you know, working in collaboration and took theirs and mixed them up. What we liked about theirs is they have the MCL written right on it, so that we could, you know where it is in the code, the Michigan State Code. So, yeah, and it took hours, didn't it? It took a lot of
Took
hours
hours.
in doing this, but I think it's gonna be worth it. I did the final copy, and I highlighted things that you'll see that were either different than the way our current board rules are written, or they weren't in our current board rules. And I just wanted to make sure you guys your attention was drawn to those things, so that, you know, I would appreciate that if I was you. So, so you saw them in there. I'm sure everybody's read them over and wondered if there's any, you know, questions about any of those, any hesitations, concerns. We can go over them one by one, or we can, I'm sure you guys have read them and, you know.
Well, and let me,
Yeah.
one of the things in looking around, the Grand Traverse County Board of Commissioners, like Phil said, had the MCL codes at each section, so that anybody had any question, you know, they could go back and look those up.
Chapter and verse.
It wasn't that our previous rules were wrong, it just that we felt this kind of opened up a little bit more. It addressed some other things too, that one of the things with in regards to public comment was that, you know, a non-response from the commissioners if someone's asking questions and stuff didn't necessarily mean that we didn't care, but it was just to be taken as a non-response. And I think that was pretty much fitting some of our material in with the other one, kind of helped a little bit, and that was the hard part, doing the blend on that. And I really want to thank Mr. Morris for completing that task once we got started. I'm sure we have several hours into it.
Yeah, yeah, it was.
But if anybody has any questions or comments, or, you know, suggested modifications, like Phil said, if you've had an opportunity to read it, I think it's pretty self-explanatory.
Can I add one more thing to it? There is an excerpt too section that Grand Traverse had that I think is going to be very helpful to the public, because that's going to be available to them out here. And instead of the whole board to have to access all the board rules, essentially it's the section of the board rules that most applies to public comment, and which most applies to when they're standing here. So I think that would be very helpful as well for them to have. Because there's a misunderstanding, right? You go in here first time. I know first time I was at one of the meetings, I didn't really know what my role was, you know, what the rules were for me. And so this provides them with an excerpt summary of what their role is.
There were just two minor things that I had, and I had gone through it all and highlighted, and then went back and looked at it again. And with the two minor things that I had, I talked to Amy about things that were related to the law on her records keeping. I talked to Tracy with her background and stuff on it. One of the things that came up in the past, I think everybody knows that I had some eye surgery before I came to meetings, and I asked the vice chair to conduct those meetings, and there was somebody who was very upset and made comments about me relinquishing that to the vice chair. And I wondered if we should have put some wording in our rules, and I've been told that the chair has the option that he can, by law, let the vice chair conduct the meetings. So I don't think we needed to be redundant and put it in our rules.
Okay.
So, and the other thing was on page 6, it's just a question. The one that we got handed out today that said if people are going to address the board, not the general public, but if people are going to address the board, they must give their name for the records, so the clerk knows who has addressed the board.
And I believe, excuse me, I'm sorry, Mr. I believe too that said May, and it's
In the Grand Traverse one.
Yeah, and that was just kind of a typo slip, so.
And just want to open those two very simple things for discussion. I understand how the clerk and the keeper of the records needs to know who's addressing a public body.
have a comment? I think to the question of, you know, the chair, vice chair, I certainly foresee, like a situation where there's, you know, a medical procedure just before the meeting, or you're feeling well enough to make it here, but not well enough to lead a meeting, we're handing over to the vice chair to run a meeting. It should be acceptable.
For the people that don't know, I had eye surgery at 6 o'clock in the morning, and I came to the 10 o'clock meeting. And after being under a general anesthetic and having eye surgery and stuff, I didn't think it would be appropriate for me to run the meeting when there was somebody who was very capable of doing it. And it was called out.
From your comments, it sounded like you're okay with the way they're written, that we
Yes.
don't need to clarify
I
that
don't think
issue.
I don't need to clarify, you know, I've been told that in giving the information, Mr. Beggs, that's covered in the description and the responsibilities of a chair, board
Mhm.
chair.
Yep. Great.
So the Open Meetings Act does say that they have to state their address, right? Or their name and address for the record, if they address from here. Just wanna make sure or is that just what our rules are gonna be, which is fine. That's totally okay, we can make the rules what we want.
It's not specific in the Open Meetings Act, but, I would say that because it's written in your rules, I mean, you can put it in your rules that way, and it's specific to her records, so that she has that information to put in the minutes.
No, I like it, regardless of,
Yep.
I just was curious, so,
Yep.
thanks.
Yes. Mr. Beggs.
I guess in that same thought, address is fine. I'd be satisfied with even just township. You know what, Tim Beggs, I'm a resident of Golden Township. Amy, yeah.
So, when I do the minutes, I don't put their address in the minutes.
Sure.
The address is strictly informational for me,
Mm-hmm, gotcha.
so I don't
Well,
put
that
their
would-
address in the minutes.
One part of my rationale is sometimes there's public comment made, and personally, I feel a need to follow up on it. So, especially if there's somebody that's represented in my district, so sometimes the address doesn't, unless I Google it, doesn't help me with that necessarily, but for me personally, sometimes I like to know just kind of whose district they are in, so that if we as a board feel a need to follow up with that, it's easy to say, hey, somebody from your district had this question, as a board, could you follow up with them on that? That's just part of my rationale for thinking about township.
Well, and it might be, it might be also too, that you might have somebody from a state agency or something like that that's coming in, that would really help.
Right. Yeah.
You know, if you're gonna do any correspondence back and forth.
It appears to me that by having a name and a way to contact the people is just a good way of doing business.
Mhm, right.
You know,
Yeah, absolutely.
I've been through these rules, through these proposed rules several times. Grand Traverse did their homework when they did the
Yeah.
basic on it, they really did. And I think that Mr. Morris and Mr. Hardy did an excellent job adopting it to
Yep.
our county. And I personally can support accepting the rules as presented.
I can also.
Yep. Agreed.
Any other comments on the adoption of the rules?
I have one question, I guess.
Yeah.
It's not about the rule, it's about how it, where'd it go? 2-8. The 4-hour rule. The board shall not, begin considering any matter on the agenda not yet under consideration beyond 4 hours, after the board chairperson calls the meeting to order. I assume that 4-hour clock resets for each subcommittee and regular meeting? Okay, cause we could have a 4-hour meeting pretty
Oh,
easily
yeah,
with all
but
of
this
our
is a
subcommittees, so, it just,
To reset.
What page is that on?
page 3, 2.8. So I just wanted to clarify how that practically plays out, so that's, we could potentially have a 12-hour meeting if each
Sure.
subcommittee and regular meeting went 4 hours.
I sure hope not.
something's gone terribly wrong if that's the case. But I was just curious.
Yeah,
I
I
wanted to
understand.
clarify how that played out.
There was one thing I wanted to bring to your attention. Stacy was looking through these too, and it states that packets will go out be emailed out on Friday. There's times that, we don't get them quite finished by Friday afternoon, and they're sent out by Monday morning, because now we're emailing them rather than sending them via mail.
I think we can
section?
handle that by sending out a preliminary agenda to each one of the board meetings on Friday afternoon with the other data that we have to follow on Monday.
Okay.
Is that,
What section
Phil,
was that?
Phil,
Yeah,
Phil,
I
is
don't
that
remember
acceptable
what
to
it
you?
was.
Oh.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
at
or
least
we could just put good faith effort or something like that.
I thought it had something similar to
It's
that.
page 5, 4.3.
Just as proceeding the next,
And maybe like considering extenuating circumstances at the very end of it, of that paragraph, we could say, or.
Well, I mean, it says proposed agenda.
right.
Okay.
So, I mean,
Yeah.
a proposed agenda is,
That, I think that should be doable, Tracy, don't you think just a
Yeah.
proposed agenda is
Yes.
doable on Friday?
Sure.
Sure.
And
Okay, great.
the other information to follow?
Mhm.
I make a motion that we accept the board rules as written.
I'll second.
Discussion. Any more discussion on it? Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Morris?
Yes.
Mr. Beggs?
Yes.
Mr. Erickson?
Yes.
Mr. Hardy?
Yes.
Mr. Walker?
Yes. And again, thank you, Mr. Hardy and Mr. Morris.
Absolutely.
Adoption of the 2023 meeting structure. Let's do a motion to adopt that first before we discuss it.
I'll make a motion to adopt.
Thank you, Mr. Beggs. Do we have a support?
I'll support Hardy.
Moved by Mr. Beggs, support by Mr. Hardy. Ms. Byard, you had the proposed, meeting.
Yes, I prepared the meeting structure. It is in your packet.
24, 25.
We should probably read the whole resolution, huh?
Pardon?
It's a resolution.
It is a resolution. You don't have to strictly read the entire resolution. You can just do the motion with that resolution, and then if you want, Amy the clerk can put that in the minutes for you.
Let me, if I may, Mr. Beggs, on your motion, what we are talking about is we have the dates that are set for our meetings. Some of them are set different than the first and then the second and the fourth Thursday of the month. By law, we have to. And the list of the committees that we have, going from 6 committees when we had 7 members down to 5. Mr. Beggs, with your motion, do you mind if I read this committee's assignment, the committee structure? So
Could
the
we
public
include the
knows?
bullet points above for the exceptions to our second and fourth? I could read those if you'd like, or.
Go, yes.
Okay,
I think we
just for the
should,
benefit of our
public- so
guests.
the public knows what
So just, as the Board of Commissioners will meet the second and fourth Tuesday of each month, with these exceptions. The first meeting in April will be held on Tuesday, April 11th, to comply with the State Tax Commission's 2023 property tax, collections and equalization calendar. The second meeting in April will be held on April 27th because of the State Tax Commission's requirements for the April 11th meeting. The first and only meeting held in November will be held on November 9th. And the December meetings will be held on the first and third Thursdays of the month due to the holiday season. So those are the exceptions to the second and fourth Thursday of the month for regular meetings.
And if adopted, they will be on our website. And then the other one, going down the 4 committees. One committee will be Finance and Administration Committee. There'll be a chair and a vice chair. Then there will be Personnel, Health and Human Services Committee, Courts and Public Safety Committee, Property, Environment and Economic Development Committee. Those are the proposed 4 committees. We've had to consolidate the committees, and those are the 4. I would ask first for all of my fellow board members, are you comfortable with the committee structure as it's set here?
Yes.
Yes.
No. Any more comments on the dates for the meetings and the committee structure, meeting schedule and structure? Hearing no other comments, I'd call for the vote.
Mr. Beggs?
Yes.
Mr. Hardy?
Yes.
Mr. Erickson?
Yes.
Mr. Morris?
Yes.
Mr. Walker?
Yes. Appointment to standing committees and then appointment to various boards. In the past, what we have done, and again, I want to state this so the public knows how we've done this in the past. Thank you, Tracy. In the past, we've sent out to all of the elected board members a chart that has the proposed committees and the different boards and groups that we attend. Each one of the board members were asked to fill in where they thought they had the expertise and they could work best on the committees. The board members were each asked to do that independently, and when they got their filled in, they returned them to the administrator's office, and she correlated them all with what they'd asked. And I got them, and I did some adjustments and filled in the blanks where we had duplicates. The reason that these were circulated to the board members now and not previously was because if I was not elected chair, it would be up to the chair, the person who was elected chair, to do this. And the ones that I had filled out would just been discarded. But for giving us something to work with this morning, that's the structure that we've used in the past, and that's where we're at. And the chair and the vice chair positions appear on these charts, and all the members were asked not to fill those out, because specifically that has to be done at the public meeting, as you saw today. So that's where we're at right now. And do we want to? Well, we don't need them. The chair can make these appointments just with concurrence of the board. So I'm going to read what's on these, and then the board will have a discussion to see if they want to concur with it or if they want any changes. Finance and Administration, Mr. Hardy. Personnel and Human Services, Mr. Morris. Courts and Public Safety, Mr. Beggs. Property, Environment and Economic Development, Mr. Erickson. Do you want to take that first? Are there any concerns or objections to the board members?
I don't have just a comment. I would just wonder if it's a mistake, because Commissioner Erickson and I have current or last year's essentially committees that we led are flip-flopped, and I don't know if that's on purpose or an accident. And then Mr. Erickson's other committees are all related to Health and Human Services. Many of them are related to Health and Human Services. It just, to me, it would make sense that he would be the committee chair of Health and Human Services, since he's in all those committees. And then I'm more connected to economic development, being on with CEA and that sort of thing.
With going to 5 members, we couldn't divide this up straight down the
Sure.
line. And where I was coming from is, from my perspective, Mr. Morris, you have a stronger background in the personnel part of it.
Okay.
And Mr. Erickson had a stronger background in economic development
Okay.
in doing that. And those are, out of all of the things related in those 2 committees, that's where I was coming from.
Okay.
You know, and you know, the logic behind doing it that
Sure.
way.
And I'm okay with that, I just wondered if it was.
But
you know.
that's what it was.
Okay.
That's what it was. Now, that being said, we need a vice chair for each one of these. For those 2 committees then, Mr. Morris, for Properties, Environment, and Economic Development, Mr. Morris, would you accept the vice chair
Sure.
for that?
Mm-hmm.
And Mr. Erickson, for Personnel, Health and Human Services, the vice chair. Is that something that you would you would be interested in?
Kind of hooking me up with Phil, aren't you?
You know.
I guess we're gonna have to get along, aren't we?
Can I make a statement here?
Sure.
I didn't have a vote in going to 5 commissioners.
I didn't either.
No.
No, I know.
Agree.
You know, we're gonna.
I think that's very workable, and you know, honestly, I feel that my time with District 10, my time with our medical care facility, I think that's invaluable. I think we don't need to go backwards and reinvent the wheel on a lot of things. I've really enjoyed the extension and the other committees that I'd served on previously, and I did not want to give any of those up.
Well, and likewise, with you and Phil being chair and vice chair, we're going to have the same thing with Mr. Beggs and Mr. Hardy.
Mhm.
Because finance, Mr. Beggs is going to need to be the vice chair for that. And Mr. Hardy is going to be the vice chair for courts and public safety.
Yep.
It's just it's just the way things are going.
Yep.
The way things are going to work out. I intentionally wanted the vice chair's position to be discussed at the board.
Sure.
You know. Concurrence on those?
Yep.
On those as
Yeah.
presented?
Sure.
Yep.
Do you wanna go down to
Alignment.
the board's assignments?
Correct.
And one at a time, or do you wanna, let me read them and we'll do them one at a time. Road Commission, Mr. Beggs is current and Mr. Hardy is the alternate. I don't think there's a change in that. Veterans Affairs, Mr. Beggs, and we need a alternate for that, and that would be, I would recommend Mr. Morris be the alternate for that. Health and Human Services, Mr. Erickson. Paul, have we had a alternate for that in the past?
No.
And let me state, where we don't have alternates, a lot of this is going to have to be a work in progress with 5 commissioners. And if we find that we need to appoint an alternate for one of these, you know, as a backup on this, we can do that at a later date. So, Health and Human Services, Mr. Erickson, the Health Department, District 10, Mr. Erickson and Paul, you've been on that for 2 years. Generally, the chair of the board sits as the other person on the District 10, doesn't it?
Correct.
So it'd be Mr. Erickson and I. West Michigan Shoreline Regional Development Commission, Mr. Morris and Mr. Beggs. Lake Shore Regional Entity, Andy Seabolt has been that in the past, and I'm going to do my best to take care of that, you know, to do that. That meets up in Ludington, so that one. Unless somebody else wanted that one. Local planning, the chair is required by law to be on that, and, Mr. Hardy, Mason 911, Mr. Hardy has been the delegate for that, and Mr. Beggs. Community Mental Health, Mr. Erickson, Parks and Rec, Mr. Erickson, Planning Commission, Mr. Morris, with an alternate of, Mr. Hardy. Land Bank, the chair will take the Land Bank. There's, all of these committees, there's a huge learning curve on a lot of them, and the Land Bank is one that I was surprised what the learning curve was on it. The Department of Public Works, Mr. Beggs, and I will say that as long as I've been on the board, the Department of Public Works has not met.
Yep.
But it need to be
Perfect.
appointed, so
I want
that.
don't expect a big per diem on
Right,
that one.
right, yeah,
Not
yeah,
gonna happen. MSU, extension, Mr. Morris, and,
I
do
don't
we-
wanna
do we
lose,
got-
that's the one I don't wanna lose. District 5 extension. I think my background in agriculture in Oceana County and the knowledge that I have with the extension, I feel I'm the most valuable in that position.
Well, what I did with, the other thing I was trying to do was divide these up pretty evenly, and they were pretty evenly. Mr. Morris, do you have any thoughts about that?
No, I kind of agree with Mr. Erickson, that, I mean,
Okay.
that's hand in a glove with what he does
Okay.
at county fair.
They're very good. Thank you, Mr. Morris. Building authority. I don't
So what,
remember.
are we, is that one staying, MSU extension, is that going to Paul, or is that?
That's going to Paul.
Okay.
Please change.
And
it.
that's bigger than the county fair, and it's bigger than 4-H.
Yeah, no, that makes
So,
sense to
but
me.
there's a
I was
common-
just clarifying
There's
it.
a common misconception whenever anyone speaks of this. Extension, that serves our growers.
Mhm.
That's why Mr. Kelly's here. That's why the Peterson Center was built. This is why we have, crop science and people from Michigan State come up to help us there. The extension that we approved that budget for the personnel in the office, the MSU side of it, with county fair and 4-H, that's a little bit different. But we also have to put that divide between the Oceana County Agricultural Society and the 4-H.
Okay.
Those are not the same.
Okay, very good. Let's keep moving. Thank you, Paul. Again, Mr. Morris, thank you. Building authority, Mr. Beggs, I don't remember that one having met. Some of these things were put in place, like when the county bonded for the sewer plant, and then when they looked at the sewers thing out in Golden Township, some of those, that's where those come under.
Mhm.
How come you get those ones that don't?
Senior Resource Board, Mr. Morris,
Mhm.
are you good with that
Yeah.
one? Courthouse Security, I've been on that. Mr. Beggs has expressed an interest in that, and I put Mr. Beggs down as an alternate on the Courthouse Security. The Lake Improvement Boards, that is going to be something, if we need 4 members on one Lake Improvement Board, we have a problem for 4 of our members to meet in a public meeting.
Right.
Mhm.
So these, we may have to, there's some of them that require 2. Pure Marquette Natural River, Paul is the only one that put down for that. Is anybody else interested in the Pure Marquette Natural River? And mostly it covers Paul's area. If we need one later, we can appoint one later.
Yeah, if we need one, I mean, you've got me down for White Lake, and I'm I've got 4 different lake boards, so if we need one, I could go in there,
Let-
I don't wanna say water's water, but there's probably some carryover in some of the concerns with all of that, so.
And notwithstanding, let's work with those if we
Yeah.
find that we,
Yep.
if we find that. And the Airport Advisory Board, we have one pilot on our board, and I understand he's saw a new jet this morning that he might be ordering for himself.
Yeah, right.
Maybe we need to keep him on that board.
One of our community members.
Yeah, but, it's nice to see the comments between Mr. Morris and Mr. Erickson, you know, where there was somebody better suited for that board. I wanna thank both of you for that, and that's what I had worked out. And I think all we need is a concurrence to adopt those, we don't need to, yeah.
The question I have when we go to page 28, we do get in those lake boards a little bit. Tim and I share Pentwater, Bass Lake. It's Tim and partly me. I mean, you know, the watersheds.
Sure,
What
sure.
we're really truly talking about is the watershed, the PFAS, and all the rest of the issues that we have on these. Can you break that down, or should we break it down, or should we just play it by ear until we get there?
I think what we need to do with the lake boards is if somebody has a proposal or a desire to be on a specific lake board, you know, or, you know, the river board, you know, let's bring it forward, you know, and.
And I think certainly the commissioners in that area
Yeah.
should attend on those.
Yeah, that's, you know, I mean, everything in Pentwater Lake comes from
Right.
the north end.
Bass Lake is probably in 2 counties as well, isn't it?
It is, yeah, we share Bass
Well,
Lake.
Bass Lake, yeah. There's not much of Bass Lake in Oceana County.
Right.
No, and it's spring fed. They, you know.
Rattlesnake Drain.
Right.
Rattlesnake Drain, yeah.
Yeah, it comes into Oceana County, that's the
Yeah.
only part that really comes into the county.
Yeah, so I think individually, each one in their district could do their lake board, if that's acceptable. I mean,
Tim can have upper dam.
Okay.
Are we good?
Yes, absolutely.
With the corrections, Tracy, I'm gonna ask the, you know, redo it and get, you know, get it back to the board members, and it also probably is something that should be on our webpage.
Yep.
You know, the committee assignments and everything, so the public knows where we're at with that.
I guess I do wanna revisit that Bass Lake. So I've just made a list. The 4 that I have on my list are Silver Lake, Stony Lake, Lake Holiday, and Pentwater Lake. Bass Lake wasn't on my radar. So has there been a... Ron?
Hi.
Has there been any Bass Lake Improvement Board involvement?
There are only about 6 homes or properties that are on the Oceana side. So I have not made a connection with Bass Lake.
Okay. Alright. So I don't know if that's on our radar or not.
It would be if there was a water issue that came from the south end.
They used to do annually weed eradication up there. So I would imagine there's an assessment that they do on that at Oceana County. And
Right.
I'm sure there is at Mason County.
Right.
You know, ours is probably handled very little, but, you know. I guess we could find out who the designate is from the Mason County Board of Commissioners and see how active it is with that person.
Right.
It'd be pretty easy to find out from Fabian.
Right. I mean, it's fine either way. I think we need to understand the expectation, and it doesn't sound like there's been much Oceana County involvement there. And if there needs to be, then there should be. And if there doesn't need to be and there's no issues, then we just keep an eye on it. It just wasn't, Bass Lake wasn't one that was on my radar screen as a lake improvement board. And my understanding is the Lake Holiday one really only meets every 5 years when the assessment needs to be renewed, so it's fairly inactive.
I think it's the same with the Heart.
So,
Heart Lake Board
Yep.
is when the assessment.
The other three that I'm on, Silver Lake, Pentwater, and Stony are quite active, but,
Silver Lake is very active.
yeah. Silver Lake has a lot of issues, so.
That Silver Lake is probably as active as all the rest of them put together.
Mhm.
You know,
We've got a problem. You know, we definitely have an issue at Silver.
Mr. Biggs, are you okay with it as presented?
Yeah, I think, yeah, that'd be fine.
Okay. Lastly, before public comment, the chair has has always done just a brief statement, you know, on the organization meeting. And I'm gonna be very brief here. And I'd like to thank my fellow board members for selecting me as the board chair for the next 2 years. I pledge to each of you my best in working forward. The people of Oceana County have charged us with the responsibility to set policy and budgets. That responsibility comes with many challenges and the opportunity for many rewards. By independently evaluating each item that comes before us, with first considering what is best for the district we represent, then the entire county, and how it will affect future operations of Oceana County, we together will make decisions which will move the interest of everybody in Oceana County forward. There are a few challenges facing us which we must work together to overcome. The reduction in the commission from 7 to 5 members. We will have committee and board assignments which we must independently fill. When we are asked when we are asked or see that a fellow commissioner who needs help with his assignments, we must all step up and do our best to move things forward with respect for everybody else's district. The past year, we have had a major influx of federal money into our county. It has allowed us to complete a lot of projects that would not have been possible without those funds. We will not receive this type of money again, and we must adjust our expenditures and set budgets for all departments which are realistic and obtainable. The entire county has seen a major change. Country has seen a major change in the political environment. Some have been very disturbing, even threatening, while others have evolved into good. We must take care not to allow this activity to hamper the county operations or the public safety while we listen to the concerns that are expressed. Oceana County is blessed to have a solid, dedicated employees and elected as well as appointed department heads. Being a policy-setting board, we each must take care not to be involved in personnel issues unless they are formally brought before us. I look forward to working with each and every one of you for the next 2 years, and all of us allowing our businesses to grow and our county to prosper. And again, I want to conclude by thanking you for the honor of being selected as the chairman of the board. Public statements.
You're gonna do a roll call on the approval of the schedule?
On the what?
On the schedule. You had the motion, but I didn't hear a voice vote or a roll call on it.
I'm sorry, I didn't.
Did you want a roll call on the approval of the schedule? I had a motion and a
You
second.
don't need to do a motion for that because the board nominates for those
Okay.
positions.
Not the committee
Not the
assignments,
committee, but if we do
Oh.
not have one for the
On the
for the schedule and the operations, my error. We have, we had a motion for that, and we had a second for it, and we had a discussion on the schedule, and, I would ask the clerk to do a roll call vote for that.
Mr. Beggs?
Yes.
Mr. Hardy?
Yes.
Mr. Erickson?
Yes.
Mr. Morse?
Yes.
Mr. Walker?
Yes?
Sorry about
Thank
that.
you.
Yep.
That was my error. Public comments. Good morning, Mr. Kelly.
Good morning. Test the new standards here. James Kelly, MSU Extension District Director. I do live somewhere in Ottawa County. I don't know that I want to give you my address. I'll see if you force me. Just a quick update. I am handing out today our fourth quarter update. I'm not going to really dig into this too much at all. I'm going to send Administrator Bayard the electronic copy with the hope that you might distribute that further if you have some networks that would benefit from looking at that information. Lots of good activity. I think there's 10 pages worth in the report. A couple of other very quick things I wanted to share with you. We did hire someone who will be coming into District 5 who will be bringing some mental health programming to some of the school districts. I think we have a letter of interest from Hart Public Schools. Well, there is a program known internationally as Mental Health First Aid. Some of you might be aware of that. There is a youth version of that, which is designed for teenagers. So we hope to have some agreements, certainly in Oceana County, that would bring some programming for 10th and 11th graders, a 6-week session that kind of helps, again, continue the discussion, because they're already happening at some level in awareness of mental health issues in that peer-to-peer type environment, how to provide some support for friends. So eager to see how that rolls out with a new person who will be starting in 2 weeks from now. We do have our new community nutrition person in place in Oceana County, so she's continuing her training and will be out and about with different community groups providing again, training and programming from kindergartners up to senior centers in Oceana County. Finally, briefly, we are hosting our college leadership in town today. I believe you were sent a few reminders or invitations to attend that event at the research station, and I just continue to share this because it's very rare that we have our top 3 leaders from the College of Ag and Natural Resources in the area. So the dean of our college, who is newly appointed about 2 months ago, will be here. They are traveling as we speak. The dean of the Ag Bio Research Center will be here. They are the person who coordinates all the research that's done on campus and through the research station. And the director of our extension services statewide will be here. I think they last did a tour in about 10 years ago to collect kind of community feedback. So if you have any interest, there is a session going on this morning through the West Michigan Food Process Association. We are on the agenda this afternoon at 1 o'clock, so you could just show up a little bit before that if you wanted to participate today from 1 till 2:30. Again at the research station. So appreciate your time. I'll leave these with you, and if you have further questions, I believe you know how to reach me. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Kelly. Are there any more public comments? Hearing no public comments, the organizational meeting will be adjourned.
Does anybody need a recess? Morning coffee break?
I want to get coffee.
Okay. Amy, let me know when you're ready. Anybody know, do we have any guests online with us? Paul, do you have that open today, or?
I haven't opened
No,
that yet
okay.
today. It's been disappointing every time I open it up.
Thank you.
Okay.
All set? Perfect, thank you. With that, we will call the Courts and Public Safety Committee to order. I'll do my best not to refer to it as Law and Safety. Roll call, please.
Mr. Erickson?
Here.
Mr. Morris?
Here.
Mr. Hardy?
Here.
Mr. Walker?
Here.
Mr. Beggs?
Here. With that, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the Law and Safety Committee from December 1st, 2022.
Go ahead, Phil.
I'll make that motion.
Commissioner Morris with a
I'll second.
motion. Commissioner Hardy with a second. All those, any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. The agenda, we have one change to make to the agenda. We are striking the discussion for extradition costs to the felony warrant discussion. That is not ready for discussion.
Just if I may?
Yep.
That involved a request from the Michigan Department of State Police.
Any other changes to the agenda?
So is there no action on that right
No,
now?
no
Is that-
action.
Yeah.
No action?
Yeah.
Okay.
It will be revisited when that discussion is ready. Any other changes to the agenda? Alright, with that, I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make that motion, Hardy.
In a second.
I'll second.
Alright.
Morse.
Very good. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Public comment for courts and public safety. Any public comment? Being none, we will move on to consideration of law firm contract discussion. Myself and Commissioner Morris, this is a discussion, ongoing discussion about our county legal counsel, and so Commissioner Morris and myself were commissioned with following up on some references for Cole, Stoker, and Toski, as well as so I guess I'll report on what I heard, and then Phil, I'll turn it over to you and you can report on what you heard. So Cole, Stoker, and Toski provided with us some references. My thought on references has always been that's their best foot forward, so I usually like to look outside of that list. So I went to their website. They have a list of counties that they represent. So Phil and I coordinated, and we both chose 2 counties not on their reference list from their list of counties that they serve. Let me pull up my notes here. So I spoke to, I kind of wanted my rationale. I spoke to Kalamazoo County. I wanted a county that's bigger, probably more complex than our county. And then Kalkaska County, which is probably similar, rural, probably, I don't know. I just wanted to find something that was kind of similar. So I spoke to, oops, I hit the wrong button. Anyway, I'll go off the cuff. I spoke to Kalamazoo County's administrator, Kevin Catlin. He was very favorable of the service that they have received from Cole, Stoker, and Toski. They're in a bit of a unique situation, being a large county. They actually had in-house counsel for a time, and then that dissolved, and they brought on Cole, Stoker, and Toski to represent them for I believe a couple of years. Helped with labor negotiations, counsel. They attended their county meetings, did not charge travel, but charged an hourly rate while they were there. So a lot of involvement. Kalamazoo County has since, in the last year, hired in-house counsel, but has still continued to retain Cole, Stoker, and Toski as kind of backup, and also just a sounding board for their corporate counsel. So very favorable. Said they're knowledgeable, they're accessible, and was very happy with their service. Kalkaska County, I spoke with the chairman of their board. He said that their county, they don't have an administrator in Kalkaska, so he said their county clerk was actually the point person for Cole, Stoker, and Toski. They have represented Kalkaska County since 2014 or 15. Again, very favorable contract negotiations, advice, representation for lawsuits that may or may not happen. The only thing that she mentioned, Debbie, I don't remember her last name now, and I deleted my note. So, do you know Debbie?
For the
Kalkaska County Clerk?
Hill.
Hill, okay. That's what I was thinking, Mike. Debbie Hill. So she said the only real thing that she noted was response times as of late have slowed down, and that was addressed directly with the law firm at their last renewal, and they were attentive to that concern. So the two counties that I spoke to were favorable in their in the service that they received from that law firm. So, Phil, I guess any questions for me so far? Phil, I'll turn it over to you.
And I chose Mecosta and Manistee County, and overall, I mean, just as a summary, brief, they were very satisfied with Cole, the company.
It's a mouthful.
Right. The Manistee County Administrator said no negative issues with the company, basically keeps a good pulse on government and current issues. MAC utilized them with the COVID and OMA issues during COVID. The board chair, he didn't have much to say, good or bad. He did say that they're actually in Mecosta, somebody said the same thing, that they are aging. Their council that they worked with is aging, but they have hired people to slide in that have done a good job. So I think it sounds like there was maybe a little transition period there where the more older, more veteran council lawyers were, were starting to think retirement, and they had to replace them with younger people in it. It sounds like they are now back on track. Mecosta's, like his exact words are, we have found them extremely professional, knowledgeable, and responsive to our needs. I would wholeheartedly recommend them. Because that's what the question I asked him is essentially, what I want to know is, would you rehire them again? Because that helps us, and that's the question I asked. And both said yes, and those were the words that they had to say. So, and this guy, I guess I'll just read what he said. While some of the primary partners are nearing retirement, they have brought in some excellent new attorneys to carry on the workload. And then I know that Chairman Walker also talked to, I don't know if you want to share the feedback that you heard.
Yep.
I was in a communication with Dr. Sobey, and I asked Dr. Sobey if he knew this law firm, and he texted me back and said, very good law firm, very up to date on what is going on in Michigan law, and he said that he believed that our county administrator has worked with that law firm when she was in Clare County. So he was very positive with the firm.
Okay, great. Ms. Byard, what was your experience previously?
I worked mostly with Dave Stoker, and Dave Stoker is trying to retire, but they brought in Matt Nordfjord, and I'm sure that Phil's familiar with him just simply because he does a lot of the Open Meetings Act presentations and stuff at the MAC conferences and that kind of thing. But he also did labor negotiations for us and did a very good job. And he's very knowledgeable, and that's mostly who I have worked with. And he's the one that gave us the quote and the contract information. And I also have the ability to reach out to him via cell phone because he's provided that information to me from working at Clare. And their legal secretary, Gwen, she's been there quite a long time, and she's usually very quick to respond if you email her.
Okay. Not directly part of this conversation, have we heard from our current counsel on the question at hand yet?
We have heard from him,
Okay.
but not as it relates to the email that I sent.
Okay.
I heard he called at the beginning of this week and said that he's been under the weather, and that they have another attorney in the firm that they'd like to do a conference call with us at the end of this week.
Okay.
That's all we've heard.
Okay. All right, thank you. Phil, did you, I didn't see an email come back. You had reached out via email to the
Al
Kent County?
Vandenberg,
Yeah.
yeah. He did not get back
Never
to me.
replied. And that was for the other firm that we were, is that right? Or was that?
Yes, that was for
Warner
Warner one, yeah.
Norcross and Judd.
Yeah, and he would have known for both Ottawa and Kent County, and,
Yeah,
but he did
we
not
didn't
get
get a
back.
reply. Yeah, that's disappointing. Okay.
So
Just
we
go-
made one inquiry that went nowhere. What do we spend annually on an attorney?
Might have to pull it up, but it's,
Yeah, I don't have that number.
It's not a big number.
no, it's not.
And then after our $30,000 deductible, we go to the Michigan Municipal League.
It depends what the case is.
Yes.
Yep.
It depends.
So this
that's
attorney
only
does
for
not
litigation.
handle lawsuits and such. This is,
Housekeeping.
yeah, it's your labor relations, if that's what you choose to do with them, and then, legal opinions and such.
And they would refer us on to MMR, Risk League.
If it relates to a
Lawsuit.
suit, yes.
When you say this attorney, who are you referring to? This attorney, you said
The
this
firm.
attorney, what's that?
You mean the firm?
Yeah, the.
Cole, Stoker, and Toski?
Either one.
Okay, gotcha.
Either one that you go with.
So so there are counsel for opinions and rules, labor relations, but if we're in a lawsuit, then MMR.
We'll assign an attorney.
We'll assign it.
Okay.
As it relates to money, yes.
Gotcha.
Right.
Okay,
We'll assign. We'll
Okay.
assign.
gotcha.
A corporate attorney for us is for the everyday operations.
Right.
But, if I can use that term very broadly.
Sure.
For the everyday operation, and then it moves, and it's always been the contact person for the county, is the county administrator.
Mhm.
And I would suggest that however we do it, we move forward, but I realize that there is a vast difference in the proposals we had cost-wise between these two law firms. A real difference. And, some people, their opinion on things is you get what you pay for, but I can't see paying 3 times as much money when you're talking hundreds of dollars,
Right, and I think some of those fee schedules that they had, the paralegal for Warner Norcross and Judd was almost.
as much as an attorney.
Right.
As a partner.
Their paralegals are lawyers almost. These guys don't spend a lot of time looking through the books.
I know how difficult it was for our previous administrator, contacting, the attorney we had. And that was after he went with another law firm, moved to another law firm. And Fridays it was virtually impossible to talk to the attorney. And I know it got very frustrating for our previous administrator, and it's just, I think with everything that's going on in Oceana County, we need a progressive governmental firm to represent us. Somebody that specializes in all of those things. And I have worked places where Warner Norcross and Judd's have been their corporate counsel. I have nothing bad to say or opinions. I have been involved with litigation with witness for litigation with Warner Norcross and Judd. I have been involved with that. I can say nothing negative about them, but looking at taxpayer money, I think that the law firm Coker can provide us a very good service. And if they don't provide the service, we can always change later. We're not, was there a contract in there that they wanted, the time in that contract that they wanted, Tracy? I'm sure there's a severance clause that's probably 90 days or something.
Yeah, they do have a contract.
But for me, we do need to move on.
Yeah.
We do need to make a decision. And right now, we don't have a law firm.
Right. Paul?
And what I'd like to add, though, is Gary Britton's been an excellent corporate attorney for Oceana County for many, many, many years. And as Tracy had mentioned, you know, a lot of people are heading towards that retirement, and they're having to bring in new people. And one of the things we're finding is we're not getting the mentorship of these younger people like we wish we had or we used to do. But I do think we need to give Gary's done a good job for us up until this last go, and I think he's probably ready to get out of it. It's changed vastly. The complex problems that are in front of county boards now are greater than they ever were. If you look at Ottawa County and what happened down there, there's a lot of rough water ahead.
Yeah, I would agree. I sat in, you know, contract negotiations, 2 different contract negotiations with Gary, and he was, you know, for a lawyer, he was pretty relatable and but also knowledgeable, and I think he did well. But he is, you know, I can't speak for him, but he's likely nearing that retirement. And I guess what it boils down to me is that we've hired, he's our lawyer, but we've hired that firm. If they have a lawyer that's not able to perform, then waiting 6 weeks for a response to a customer just is not good customer service. And that's really what it boils down to. You know, you need to have the expertise, and you need to be able to respond to your customer, and I don't think we've been responded well, and so that doesn't set well with me.
If I may, this other firm that you were searching through references, they only handle county business.
Yeah. And I think there's some benefit in specialized service.
Right.
Yeah. Cut and paste.
No, not paying for a decision 3 times or 4 times.
Cut and paste.
Yeah. Okay.
Mr. Biggs?
Yes.
Independently for me, I'm willing to support moving on and entering into the agreement with the Coker Law Firm because of their background in county only, and also the fees.
Yeah.
There's a lot of difference between paying an attorney $200 an hour and paying a paralegal $175, and the attorney's up to $600 an hour.
And there's a 30-day clause in there.
30 days.
That's not bad.
30, yeah, we can get out written within 30 days.
All right.
I think it's important that we do have a corporate counsel on.
Certainly. Yeah, we need to have somebody in place that's able to give us the opinions we need at a fairly quick rate. We're only one small action away from needing a lot of advice in a big hurry, so.
Every day.
Yeah, yep. Any other comments?
I mean, I guess I'll just say if there was any even yellow flags, I would reconsider it, but there really wasn't. I mean, not even a yellow flag, maybe, no, not even a little bit. So, and it's cheaper and no yellow flags, hey, I'm good with it.
Okay.
We're not getting married to them, we're hiring them.
Yep, right. All right.
People do marry people with yellow flags too.
even red flags.
Right. Sorry.
Moving on. The next item, we're taking no action, so we will move on to public comment. Any public comment before we close courts and public safety? All right, hearing none, we will adjourn the Courts and Public Safety Committee.
Can we take a few minutes?
Seems reasonable.
Yep. Take a few minutes.
To our guests, there's bagels over there if you'd like to partake, enjoy. And coffee, water.
Another 5-minute show.
You know he wants to. Good.
He was looking like a real peanut.
Yeah.
That's smart, right? won't be here a lot. Wanted to make sure the transition is still today.
How are you? Doing good. Now, what is your name? What is it? Clinton?
C-O-L-T.
Cole, okay, all right. C-O-L-T?
Yes.
Cole, okay, all right,
Almost
awesome.
every day, they figured it out.
You see Cole?
He's got more time.
You
What's
you
up?
class today,
How you
didn't
doing?
you? Real world
Yeah.
government.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, you
Now, how old are you?
Well, we appreciate what you guys do.
So you're in first grade now?
Good, good.
I don't really know because we don't actually really do that, yeah.
So I'm not ready for it.
Now, where are you in the line of, you know, like oldest, youngest, middle?
I'm exactly in the middle.
Based
Five,
on the
right?
agenda, I'm gonna
Cool.
bail out. John, how are you? How many do you
Good,
here?
Phil.
Three.
Three, okay.
Thank you,
yeah.
sir.
What ages?
My youngest is 13.
Okay.
And then 16 and 17.
Gotcha, yep.
So on the road.
Yeah.
Never play.
Yeah.
You'll be remembered for that.
For what?
Yellow
Oh.
flag.
Well, it's true, there are some people that get married and there's red flags, even like
I will hire you as a consultant when the time comes.
Yeah. Yeah, 20-some-year-olds, they, you know, they're smitten, they just, you know, they love them, so they're gonna, anyway, I won't get all into it.
Yeah, you're not good there.
We know how that goes.
Your wife's older than that.
Yeah. Yeah, she married me and I think she regrets it every now and then.
Nah. How was the trade first today?
We're doing good. How are you?
Fine, thank you. Good to see you. Good to have you on board. A coffee drinker. Look at you. Excellent. Hesperia area, out 20, right?
Yep.
Next time, back in the funeral business again. So Hesperia is opening up with the funeral home
Right.
right in town.
I
and
did
we're
hear
gonna
about
open
that,
house
yep.
on Sunday, I guess.
Okay.
Another one to keep track of. There's about 5 of them down this way, so.
Oh.
Keeps me on my toes. All right, well, you folks have a good day.
You too.
I think they can handle the rest of this without me. Won't be easy, but nice
They know
to
how to
see you
get
again.
hold of you.
Maybe, yeah, they got my number, that's for sure.
Take care.
Yep, thank you. If I get on my, oh, I was gonna do a paper towel. I feel like back in the gun smoke with Mr. Dillon. More ibuprofen.
Take care.
Good morning, how are you guys?
Good, you?
Good so far. I don't own a snowmobile, so I'm enjoying the weather.
Hey, mine's sitting in the garage for the last 6 years, so.
Unless you wanna drag it like way north, it's like